Can we take a second before I talk about the actual card effects to actually appreciate Kazuki Takahashi and how flipping amazing all of these artworks are? I mean, holy smokes, this is actually gorgeous. Anyways, let's get to the video. So the 20th anniversary Legend collection is coming out in the OCG soon. And with that in mind, these are cards that will probably be imported into the TCG over time. And there are quite a few cards that were announced. So with that in mind, we have a new Blue Eyes, a new Magician of Chaos, we have a new Red Eyes card, new Malefics out of all things, Cubics, just so many cool cards. And in today's video, I'll be discussing actually all of these cards, rather than just one, as I made a community poll and you guys requested for a group video on these cards. So that's what we're gonna do. So the first card to talk about is Blue Eyes Alternative Ultimate Dragon. It's a level 12 light dragon fusion effect monster with 4500 attack, 3800 defense. It requires 3 Blue Eyes White Dragon as material, and it has the following effect. Cannot be targeted by or destroyed by an opponent's card effect. Once per turn, you can target one card your opponent controls, destroy that card. If this card was fusion summoned using a monster whose original name is Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon as material, you can target 2 or 3 cards instead. This card cannot attack during the turn you activate this effect. So to start, this is a very hard card to summon. I mean, not necessarily, because you have guard dragons, which I'll talk about in a little bit. This card is very reminiscent of the original Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. However, with that in mind, it would have needed a special clause to make it that much better. Maybe tribute or banish materials from your field or graveyard in order to summon this card. Maybe some other clause, but just having to hard fusion summon this card really isn't that great. Fortunately, it can be summoned off of the guard dragons because it doesn't have any restriction to special summoning it. But in general, it would have been nice to have an easier way of accessing this than just the guard dragons, considering you can special summon any dragon monster from your extra deck, and there are probably better options than this card. For some decks, this card is easily able to be dealt with. Currently, post Dark Neostorm, the meta is shaping up to have a lot of outs to this card. Some examples from the new set are She-Orchestin Girsu, which is the new Orchis XYZ monster. If you want to watch a video about that or get my opinions on it, etc., I'll have a video in the top right corner. And there's also Mega Knight Crusadia Astron, which I also have a video about. So go check those videos out if you want to learn more about those cards. But they will both be meta relevant cards, and they are both very easy outs to this card. You also have Borosword Dragon and Utopia the Lightning, which are also very easy outs to this card. To be fair, this card is annoying to get rid of at times. Do you think Sky Striker can remove this card from the field without going into Borosword or Astrom if they play it? The thing is, it literally has 0 outs to this card, again, unless they can make a Link 4. They can also play Utopia the Lightning, but the deck hasn't really played that engine in a long time, so I don't think they will add back the Utopia the Lightning engine, considering how much extra deck space they actually have. So very similar to Sky Strikers, any other slow deck will have a harder time dealing with this than faster decks, because faster decks like combo decks are able to make Borosword and Astrom very easily. However, with control decks, it takes usually a turn, it can take longer to actually set up. Its removal effect is decent as well, considering it's just any target one card your opponent controls, destroy it. That's always a great effect. However, using Alternative White Dragon makes the effect way better. The issue is you're not going to be summoning this through a regular fusion summon. It's just not good enough to warrant that. One issue is it can't attack when using this effect, which kind of goes against this card's idea that it's a hard body to deal with, but as well, it destroys an opponent's card. It'd be nice to attack with this card, considering you can clear something and then just attack for 4500, but it's still a hard body to deal with. If it was a quick effect, this would be absolutely amazing, and it would have made this card so much better. Think about it, you can literally summon this off of the guard dragons. Not only is it a very hard card to deal with, but it has a way to protect itself. And in unison with guard dragons making this very easy to summon, then it would have been way better. But unfortunately, it's not a quick effect, and so we'll just have to deal with that, and it makes this card way worse. So as I've been talking about the guard dragons, you can summon this off of the guard dragon monsters. And that's probably the big reason you would actually play this in any viable deck. You can summon this with Dragon's Mirror too, but really Alternative Ultimate Dragon is a situational monster that deals very well with opponents' cards, and if you also just need a big, very hard to deal with body, then this is the card for you in any Guard Dragon variant. Outside of Guard Dragons, I think this card is terrible. Magician of Black Chaos Max is a level 8 Dark Spellcaster Ritual Effect monster with 2800 attack, 2600 defense, and the following effect. You can ritual summon this card with Chaos form. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name once per turn. If this card is special summoned, you contribute 1 monster. Your opponent cannot activate monster effects for the rest of the turn. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can target 1 spell card in your graveyard, add that card to your hand. This card is basically a ritual version of Azathoth, which is always good. This card isn't nearly as good as Azathoth though, because Azathoth isn't an activated effect. So if you summoned Azathoth against these combo decks, then they couldn't respond to it. It's just so good, Azathoth. There's no real way of negating it unless you negate the summon. But back to this card, it's an activated effect with the cost of tributing a monster, which still isn't bad considering it gets around targeting cards like, for example, Widow Anger. Regardless, any monster negate stops this card, like again, for example, there's Vortex, there's so many outs to it. There's Call by the Grave as well, which can banish it if it tributes itself. But I think one big reason you would actually play this is because it says on special summon, which means special summoning this on your opponent's turn can really cripple the opponent and makes this card actually very viable turn 1 as a disruption if you can summon it on your opponent's turn. The second effect isn't bad either. Just being able to recur a spell card from the grave is actually pretty powerful, and I think that's kind of underrated with this card. This card is amazing in incantations, and I 100% think that it will be played in the deck, considering it's good going second and contribute your incantations as fodder for its effects. The last card I'm going to talk about in depth is Cubic Omen. It's a normal trap card with the following effect. You can only use the first and second effects of this card's name once per turn each. Place a number of cubic counters up to the number of cubic monsters you control on face-up monsters your opponent controls. A monster with a cubic counter on it cannot attack and its effects are negated. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 cubic monster you control. For the rest of this turn, each time that monster you control destroys a monster that has a cubic counter on it by battle, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the original attack of the destroyed monster. This is the last card I want to go in depth about because considering it's actually amazing for the deck. This card is really so good because it's a disruption. Basically, this is a quick play, plays cubic counters, and obviously cubic counters can negate effects of monsters. So you're telling me this is non-targeting, non-anything, it just places cubic counters. But as well, the second effect is also really powerful because if they do have a cubic counter, this is obviously meant for going first, but then if they do have a cubic counter and you activate the second effect on your turn after you use this card on your opponent's turn, then it just makes OTKing way easier. As well, if you have another way of putting cubic counters onto the opponent's monsters, then this card makes OTKing easier as well. Duza can also send this to the grave if you already can access your other combo pieces. Overall, this card is pretty good and will definitely be a nice card for cubics. So from this point on, I won't be as in-depth on the rest of the cards, but I feel I should mention them instead of not talking about them at all. The Unstoppable Exodia is such a quality beam card. I mean, it's absolutely horrible as a competitive card and probably will never see play, but it's such a great meme card. Why is it bad? It requires 5 tributes for its effects and has to destroy a Dark Fiend specifically through battle and cannot destroy anything else to get its win condition. It's such a good meme card with Summon Sork and whatnot, and most certainly won't see play, but I love to watch this card win a duel. Palladium Oracle Mana is just in general requires too much to work. Its float effect isn't that relevant unless you specifically need a Dark Spellcaster instead of a Light, and regardless, since the special summon clause is reliant on your opponent, you might as well play Dark Magician Girl instead. Unless you need to pop this with a card like Diagram, but I don't know why you'd be popping this card with Diagram unless you're actually going for the idea of turboing out Dark Magician Girl, maybe as a level 6, but anyways. This card does provide card destruction protection, but in general, this card is bad. Red Eye's alternative Black Dragon is another alternative monster, which you'd think would be amazing considering Blue Eye's alternative White Dragon was so good, but this card is just disappointing. Honestly, it's not horrible, but it could have been so much better. It's a level 7 Red Eyes that summons itself, which is a plus, and it floats on destruction through card effect, so your opponent probably wouldn't want to deal with this card in a sense of destroying it through card effect. But considering how good alternative was, this card is just a major letdown. It being a Red Eyes, to be honest, though, really opens the door for more consistency in the deck through Red Eyes oriented cards. Neo Kaiser Glider is, well, garbage. And I doubt it'll see play. Depending on what comes out in the future, that might change this opinion, but really, what card could come out that can make this card so good? Considering there's already a bazillion reborn spells for dragons, why would I play this over something like Silver's Cry, for example? Wait, what? Wait, there's a 500 attack point decrease? You're joking. Scrap everything I just said, this card is degenerate. The last card revealed is Malefic Divide, and it's not really that crazy. Malefic Divide is actually pretty decent for Malefics, but are you really playing Malefics in 2019? And will it see play? No, but it's pretty neat, I guess. Overall, these cards are pretty cool. I mean, there's not really much else to say. It's not like any of these cards are really going to make the biggest impact, but they're still cool. So, yeah, that's my opinion. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to support me further than just watching my YouTube videos, go down into the description and support me on Patreon. It helps out quite immensely. As well, if you guys want to talk to me further than just my YouTube comment section, go down into the description and join my Discord server. Thank you guys so much for watching, and with that, I hope to see you soon.